Hi, I'm Eric and I'm making The Black Pepper Crew, a tactics game about a group of bounty hunters. For this third devlog, I'd like to talk about the character design, starting with the art process and moving forward with the abilities development. I talked a little bit about how the characters came to be in devlog number 1. If you haven't watched it and want to know more about this, just check the link in the description. Otherwise, let's go ahead to see some sprites. The first character that came to be was the Raccoon Thief, which was a 32 by 32 sprite. Once I created the other characters, I worked more on the palette and improved the previous design to go with the new characters I created. This was a year ago and allowed me to build several prototypes. When I revived the game in April of this year, I decided to change the design, increasing the sprite size and attempting a more cartoony aesthetic. With a bigger resolution, I was able to use more detailed shapes, so I took the previous characters as inspiration and reused the palette. The first character I worked on was Frank, a retired boxer frog whose career was sabotaged by a mob leader. I took the previous design and exaggerated the shapes. This led to some overly cartoonish designs, but after tinkering and iterating, I found a design that I liked. The grumpy attitude was there from the beginning of this iteration and was an important change from the old character, as it didn't work well with his backstory. By the way, this backstory was there from the very beginning, even before the first prototype, and has proven to me that prototyping first is the key to having a strong game from the beginning of development. Anyway, Frank's abilities were clear to me from the start. He's the muscle of the team. He's a boxer after all, so his attack is the stronger one, dealing 2 damage per punch. His attack has the knockback ability, pushing his targets 1 cell behind. If the pushed enemy stumbles into a wall, 1 extra damage is dealt to him. And if he bounces into another character, this character also receives 1 damage. Frank can pull characters from far using his tongue ability. These abilities were inspired by one of the earlier prototypes I made, where Frank can punch, jump, stomp, and pull stuff with his tongue. He even can use his tongue to build a bridge for other characters to walk on.
Frank is the best. I really like that character.
Next was Napoleon, heavily inspired by Spike from Cowboy Bebop anime. The first raccoon I made was even called Spike, but I decided to change the name to obscure the reference a bit. Napo's design was the easiest one I did. I created a rounded and tall silhouette, and the design almost created itself, and the easygoing attitude is there from the get-go. Now, his abilities were difficult to combine. I struggled with his special ability, and to solve this took Cowboy Bebop's Spike fighting techniques as an inspiration, and created the swap ability, which will smoothly trade positions with another character. For his attack, I went for a kick that dealt 1 damage, and also had the knockback ability. His character traits felt weak, so I added 1 cell to his moving range, thus making him more agile and transforming him into an important strategic character. Vera was a difficult character to pull off. I used the old sprite to create the new one, instead of just using it as a reference, like in the previous cases. This time I took the original face and scaled it up. It took me a while to find the right proportions of the face to make it work, but I'm very happy as it is now. Her abilities were difficult to create too. As she is sort of a ninja character, I decided to add a lot of mobility. That's why his attack forces her to move behind the target. To make more interesting game encounters, I allow her to chain her attacks, as long as there are targets available. This chaining mechanic was inspired by the chain whip into the bridge. I found this mechanic really interesting, and adjusting Vera's attack to be chainable has made the game much more interesting. I also allow Vera to move diagonally as a special ability. Pete was the hardest character to develop. His design went through many iterations, but the final sprite showed more personality and helped to give him more depth. Previously he looked like a happy hacker chicken, but now it has some sort of arrogance, I think, that helps build a more interesting character. He has a ranged attack because I had envisioned him as a weaker character. His special ability was really difficult to combine, and I'm still considering changing it. The ability consists of charging his gun instead of attacking, and in the first iteration every charge increased his damage by 1. And after 2 charges the gun paralyzed the enemy for 1 turn. The problem is that the encounters end really fast because the board is too small, therefore having long-term abilities didn't work well. So I changed the special ability to add the paralyzing status to the attack when shot. I'm still not convinced because it forces the player to start each match the same way, charging, and then shooting and paralyzing on the first turns. And after that, as it has only 2 health points, the ability is not very practical, but I do need to do more playtesting to really rule the ability out. The Jam version of this game didn't have animations, just the characters, and it worked pretty well with the current mechanics, so I decided to add the animations to see if it improved the feel of the game. Currently I've been making just idle animations, but I think it's looking pretty well. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!